start recording. So this is how we will proceed. Now, for today, as I'm not very sure about what is your level of understanding, what I have done is, according to our conversation, I've put up some topics which I would like to discuss and want to make sure that this is a very discussion-based learning instead of one-way communication. So there are a few topics which I've written, which I will be covering one by one. So first of all, I would like to ask you, what exactly is your understanding regarding web and in web also? Uh, are you very much aware about what exactly is front end and back end? And can you let me know your understanding, and then we can go deeper into it and then see.
Okay, I can say I'm just a beginner, so you can teach me from the beginning level. Maybe I might be knowing some points in between, but I think it is good if you teach me like a beginner. So coming to your question, like the difference, I know like what is the difference between the front end and back end. So front end is what we can see on the browser, like the user see it, and the backend is like where we get the data from, like database. If you have any middleware where you write the controllers, APIs, and all those stuff.
Okay, fine. So
correct me if I'm wrong anyway.
Yeah. So no, so I will be asking few questions, and then I will be giving you some more inputs on the same topic. So tell me one thing, is it possible to have a website without the backend code?
Yes, on using Node.js or something.
So Node.js is a backend technology. So if a website will be having a Node.js, then it is having backend basically. What I'm saying is it possible that in a website you do not have a backend code itself? You only have a front end code. Is it possible?
I think yes.
Okay. Yeah. And where do you think, if you only have a front end code, where exactly it would be lying? So if you are opening some website and if it is only having a front end code, where it will be lying, from where you will get it?
Like from where you are getting is like when you open the inspector, you can see the code, right?
Yeah. So, but there has to be some place somewhere where you should have your code, and when you are typing it, it is coming from somewhere, right? So is it a requirement? Yeah, server. So is it a requirement that if you have server, you need to have a backend code?
I think yes.
No. So if you only have a front end in your website or in your web page, and in that case also you will have to host it on a server. So that
yes.
Right. So in that case, you do not have a backend, but you do have a website which is hosted on a server. So I think you actually answered it correctly initially, but then my next question you got confused. So I will just give you some idea. So in web development, there are two sides. One is client side. So whatever that you use, do you know what is a client?
Yes.
Yeah. So user. So you are right. So if you're using mobile, if you're using laptop, if you're using desktop, whatever it is, right? Or pad, all these things are called as client side. And the other side of the internet is, this is basically server. So whenever you are opening any website, it is asking for some data to server, and server is sending this data to your client side, right? Now what happens is, whatever is your code, or if whatever is your website which is opening here also, the code was not here. You have just sent some www. sorry, you have sent some www dot say anusha.com. Maybe this is a website where you have made your resume. Now,
Okay.
the client was not having the front end also here, right? So it has asked for some code. Then this server. Now this server is not your backend server, which I will explain further. There are different kind of server also. This is a server where your website is hosted. So when you
Okay.
say your website is hosted, that means it is containing your front end and backend code.
Okay.
Okay. So this is containing your front end and backend code. So this is your hosting server basically. This is your hosting server. So
Okay.
this will then share the front end code with your client. The front end code will be shared with the client. Now, what actually happens at the client? So we will come to the next part. What happens at the client? So when your client will receive all the front end files.
Yes.
One second. I'm just getting a call on my mobile. Once again, I'll just mute it.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next thing which comes is what happens at the client side. So which engine runs this particular front end code on your client? Do you know which application in your computer or in your client?
Yeah. Google or Chrome
Sorry.
search engine. Chrome or Edge.
Yeah. So it is basically browser.
Yeah, browser.
Yeah. Right. So browser should have something which can understand your front end code, right? So
Yes.
browser normally runs your website or your front end because it can interpret three things or three technologies you can say. One is HTML, second technology CSS, and the third one is, can you name it?
DOM.
Sorry?
DOM. DOM. DOM.
No. I'm talking about technology. What kind of code can come from front end to browser? This is your browser,
Okay.
which a browser will able to understand and will be able to show something here. So what is the technology which it can uh,
JavaScript.
JavaScript exactly. So your browser can only understand these three things.
Yeah.
We'll also come to that particular part that how React works. Then if you will say React, how will React work if your browser can only understand these three, or how it will interpret Angular or the higher level libraries. So that is something which
Okay.
will come to the come as a next point. So your browser, so this is very important. You should be very much aware that your browser can only understand these three things. In that also, every code which you will write, which is your front end code, there will be one file which will be called as
Dot
index.html.
J. Yeah.
Index.html. Now,
Okay.
this will be the first file. So this you should be aware that this is the first file which your browser will read. This will be the first file which your browser will read.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and first of all, it will read this file, and then it will see that is there any CSS file attached with it? If yes, it will read that CSS file. If there are other JavaScript
Dot
files,
JS.
yeah, so it will also take those files or implement or execute that JavaScript code, which is linked in this particular file. So
Okay.
whenever you will be debugging or whenever you will be checking or whenever you are looking at a speed or transaction between your browser and the server, you will see the first file which it will get is basically index.html, and then you will see the other files as well. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So
Now,
what do we write
yeah,
in that index.html?
yeah. So I will come, I will open the code. I will write a very neat code from zero, and then we'll show you what all things are there in HTML. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So, first of all, till here you have understood that this is how the things are working. This is front and back end. Now, this particular backend we discussed I'll just change the color. So we just discussed this. This backend is required every time or not? So you said no, it is not required, right?
Yeah, if we don't have some data to bring it and show, then we don't need backend, right?
Yes, exactly. So this backend normally works when you have some um, big database, you have images, media, something like some example I can take is makemytrip.com, which has say 40,000 hotels ka data. So you will be having a database, and then you will have some storage for media files and everything, right? And then you can have this backend code talking to this particular these systems, and then communicating with the front end code with the help of some form of APIs. So this is how this whole thing is working. So even if you do not have backend, only with the front end code, your things can work. Now,
like web page,
yes,
website, like
correct. So in the front end also, I will just show you. You can actually have a website only with HTML also, right?
Yeah.
You do not need CSS and you do not need JS, but it will be a very plain website first of all, and it will be a static website. Now,
base.
yes. So if you only have HTML, I will write it here. If you only have HTML, it will be a static website, and it will be non-styled, I will say. Okay. If I will add CSS into it, if I will add CSS, then it will be static and it will be styled. Yes, right. If I will add JavaScript, then it will be dynamic, and then it will be styled as well because we have already added CSS. So now I will give you an idea about what exactly is a HTML. So we will jump to this HTML code, but I will just give you an idea of a dynamic website which I just created. I just have a code already here, so I'll just show you to give you an idea what is basically a dynamic website I'm talking about. So and so sometime back I was just exploring and I have written this code. So I just thought, why not write a code for a game and make my own rules? So I've written this code for snake game, which you would have seen, right? Yeah. So in like previous phones like Nokia and all, you must have seen this. So I can now play this game with the cursor. 1 second, I'll just make it full screen. So I can play this game right now with the cursors on my keyboard. So with the JavaScript, I'm able to actually control what exactly is being shown on this particular web page. It is a web page, it is not an application, right? It is currently running in browser. I can directly host it, and I can make it so that public people can actually play it online also, and it could also be a two-player game, right? And you can say the score is also getting updated at the bottom, right? So like this, so this is an example of a dynamic website. So it does not have a backend as well, but you can see it is so strong that it is doing multiple calculations each and every second, and all those things are happening at the browser level. So nothing is getting communicated, nothing is getting transferred there. And even if my connection will get lost, so what do you think? What will happen in that case?
It will. Okay, maybe it will restart.
Yeah, it will restart, but you can make sure that a person can even play it even if the connection is lost. But yes, you are right. So if I will reset it, I will reset the browser, it will reset from where I have started. So that will happen for sure. So you're right. So I was just showing you an example of what could be a dynamic website. So now coming back to our whiteboard. Yeah. So this is clear till now? Any other question which you have?
No, it is good.
Yeah.
That question, that index.html, you will be showing it now.
Yes. So next thing which will come into is now HTML and how your web page. So your web app is basically built up of multiple web pages, right? So how web page is structured. This is the next question that we have. What exactly? So how exactly is a web page structured? How do browser see your web page? So a browser sees your web page in terms of DOM. Sorry, document object model, right? So with this, I will jump to the index.html and what exactly is there inside it. So a DOM is how your document is structured by your browser, and we will go into the depth of DOM. But before that, we will just see what exactly is HTML. I'll see to the code, then I will explain you what is DOM, and then we will go into much more depth. So let me open our Visual Basic. So I hope that you are also using the same code editor, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Visual Studio. So I'll just close this. Okay. Okay. So what I will do is I can just rename this and I can make a new file to show you from zero. Okay. So you must be aware that you can have this boilerplate code which we can add here, right? So this is your boilerplate code which we say. Now, what exactly is this? So this is your basic web page. Even with this page, if you will run this directly, so you must be aware that how we can run this. If I will open it in live server, so this you know, right? Live server, what exactly it is? Okay, so I'll cover it. So what happens is, if you are writing a code, the first thing which you need to have in your code is the index.html file, right? So you will write a index.html, and then say suppose your particular website is only having HTML, then you need to have a look at it in your development environment, right? You are coding, you need to see how it will look like to any end user. So how you will do that? So in your Visual Studio, you have something which is called as live server. So you can go in these extension, and then you can click on live server with Ritwik Day, and you can download this. So once you will download this, then if you will come to your particular website, you might have to restart this Visual Studio. But once you will click on, you will click, you will right click your mouse button, then you will see this option, open with live server.
Okay. I actually work on Visual Studio, not Visual Studio Code. So I have a button there where I can run the code.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for React, it will be totally different. In React, we will have to use terminal, and I will also guide you with that. I will also take one class only for how to use different terminals, and then how you will be working with React. So, but for JavaScript and HTML, you will be using open with live server. So once you will do this, you will see this is your web page. So you will say, "Ki, what is this? This is just a blank screen, right?"
Yeah.
Right? But this is your empty canvas. You can write anything that you want, right? So I will just write something and will show you that, okay, it is not just a blank screen, we can write anything which we want here, right? Okay, so I've just written it, I've saved it. Again, I will go and I will click on live server. So I will see Anusha is my new student. So you can see it is coming here. If you will put the data of your resume, you can put it here, and then you can just host this as a website and then share your particular resume with any of the new companies, right? So that is how you can do it, correct? So I was just showing you. So this is the bare minimum website or a web page, you can say, which is static in nature. This will not change right now, right? This is not changing. Now let me come to the part where you will where I will teach you what exactly are the different parts of your HTML code. Okay, so I'm just uh, putting these gaps so that I can show you the structure of the code.
Okay.
So first thing which you can see here, doc type HTML. What this means is, so these three lines are basically to I'll come to these three lines because these three lines you will not be changing, you will not be doing much here. These are few of the instructions to the web browser, that what is the character set which you should use. So it is something which is recommended by HTML5 that you should use UTF-8, which is so in this you can cover all the characters, everything. So you need to use this. So it is something which is recommended by HTML5. So you directly use that. Then you have viewpoint name equal to viewpoint content. So with different device length and width. So you, if you're using on mobile screen, if you're using on laptop or desktop, what should be the scale? So you are mentioning it is 1.0% scale should be there. What should be the width? So it should take the whole width of the device. So that is the viewpoint. Viewpoint is basically in this particular web page, our viewpoint is starting from this particular point to this particular point, right? And then at the bottom, we are going till the bottom of the screen, which we can see in the browser. So that is basically our viewpoint. So this is how we have what we have mentioned. These are basically security related and browser related. So we are talking about Edge. So this content is so for Edge it should work basically. So that is what it has mentioned. So you will not be changing these things, but you should be aware what exactly it is for. The next thing is basically title. So title, maybe I can just write down first demo lecture. And what does this mean is, so if I will now save this particular thing and if I'll go here, you will see whenever you will see this WhatsApp written, my drive written, if I need to change the title of my website in a browser, whenever it is shown, so that is something which is coming from here. That is the title of your website. Now, coming to this part, HTML language, this is EN. This means that the language which I have selected for my web page is basically English. That is what it is mentioning here. And this particular thing is mentioning that we are using. So if you are, so first of all, if you are using HTML, so in HTML, there are different versions, right? This HTML5, which is currently running on, but there's HTML4 also, right? And before that also there would be some other versions. So how your browser will get to know that which HTML version you are using? That should be the first thing it should know, right? Because first file it is getting, it is index.html, right? So the first thing your browser should know is what version of HTML your code is running right now. Correct. So that is something which comes from this particular line. Doc type HTML. This line shows or tells browser that this is HTML5. Now there are, if you need to specify some other thing, for example, I'll just show you. If you want to show that you are using HTML4, then there's some other lines which you need to mention. For example, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So for HTML5, you use doc type HTML. This is the sentence which you use. For HTML 4.01, you use this particular line,
Oh.
right?
Mm.
So like this, you tell browser that what exactly you are using. So all these things from top to here, title, these are basically your metadata, which you mentioned.
Mm.
So this is now one part. Now I will show you, or I will tell you now what exactly is the structure of HTML. Okay.
Mm.
And then we will jump to the DOM part. So let me take a new page. So your HTML basically has a structure where you have two things. First is head, and the second thing is, say, body.
Mm.
Have you heard about these things?
Yes.
Okay. So your all your HTML documents normally has these two things as head and body. Now,
Mm.
whatever that you see on a browser screen, whatever that you see on a browser screen, say
Mm.
this is your line and this is your window, and this is basically your browser window, which I'm
Yeah.
just putting it like this, right? So whatever
Mm.
that you see here, this is basically written inside your body tag.
Okay.
Okay. Whatever
Mm.
that you write in head, you will not see on the browser screen. You will only see what is written in the body tag. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and now if you will see our code in this, this is your head tag,
Yeah.
right? And this is your
Mm.
body tag. So if I
Mm.
will write, say, something new here, say I'll write 20. If I have written something here, you will see one more line is added
Yeah.
here, right?
Mm.
So whatever that we are writing in the body, it is coming here. Now,
Okay.
coming to the uh,
Yeah.
one second, coming to the previous page. Now, what exactly is DOM? We say this word DOM multiple times in front end. So, what exactly it is? Okay. So, when we are talking about HTML, let's see what exactly is the structure of HTML. So, it will be much easier for us to understand what exactly is DOM. Okay. So, in HTML, we basically say that it has a tree structure.
Mm.
It has a tree structure. Now I will tell you why it has a tree structure. So whenever you are writing a HTML code, you have head and body. In body, you will write, say, one headline, one h1 you will write. You will write some div. This will be your main div. In this you will have some h1. Then it will have some paragraph, right? I don't know if you're getting it or not, or I'm jumping something. You can just let me know. And then you have this one div where you have, say, a kind of nav bar where you have a image, which is your icon. Then you have a name of the website as a top heading, which is h1 tag. Then you have, say, a list items.
Okay.
In this items, this is a hamburger menu which you have on the top, and then you have other things about me and other which will be a p tag or a
Mm.
h2 tag or something, and then like this you have multiple things. So what
Mm.
happens in a HTML document, if you will see, this is called as parent tag. This is a
Okay.
child tag. This is also a child tag. Now
Mm.
h1 is a child tag for body, div is a
Mm.
child tag for body,
Yeah.
and this will be a grandchild of HTML, right?
HTML. Mm.
HTML tag. So if you will see, you will have a structure which is something like this. Now this will have one, this will have one, this will have one, two, this will have, right,
Yeah.
and like this. Now, if you will invert this particular thing, this is how your tree is, right? You
Mm.
have, and you have branches. So it is basically tree structure because it resembles a tree. If you will put it upside down. So HTML has a tree structure. Now, what happens is your DOM is nothing but document object model. Your browser, how your browser understands your HTML code is basically called as document object model. What it does is it will take all these tags, this, and this, and will consume it as a object. Okay. And your DOM is nothing but this structure which I have showed you here. Whatever static structure which you can see is basically DOM. This is only DOM. Whatever that you can see on your browser screen, that is basically your document object model. In that also, it is basically different tags which it actually is using to create a view on the browser. So, and DOM is basically a static thing. So at one single point of time, all these tags will have some value, right? If they will have h1 will have some value, p will have some value. So DOM is something which will be a static thing. Now what you do with JavaScript is you are able to manipulate this DOM. That is what JS is doing. So in that, what JS will do is JS will say ki DOM, I want to change one particular node. Say you have this h1 node. I want to change this h1 node. Maybe currently you have written some heading 1. I want to change it to heading 2. So this is called as node. Each and every particular thing in the DOM structure, it is called as node. So your JS is helping you change any of these particular nodes in your DOM basically, and that is how you make it dynamic in nature. You make your particular web page dynamic in nature, because without JS you cannot change the DOM. It cannot change automatically, right? So that is what comes from here. Now let us see an example of this, a very small example. Okay, so can you see this code? Hello? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So Anusha, this 4 minutes left to this particular meeting. So if this call will end, I will share the new meeting request. We'll rejoin again, because I think we can extend so that we can cover some more topics. I hope that's fine. Yeah. So can you see this particular code in this? This is the head which we have already discussed. I've put some title which is HTML, and then in the body you can see there are only two things which I have written. One is some h1 heading which is learning HTML. So you can see learning HTML here. It is, and then I have created one.
If we write something like some other tags in head tag, then also it will be only on that URL bar, right?
Yeah. So you mean to say this particular
like
tag?
Can you write a h1 tag in the head?
No, in the head it will not show, right? That is what I told you. So only whatever is inside the body, that will be shown on your browser screen.
Yes. I mean to say, see, if we can see the title which says HTML, right, in the browser, on the heading. In the browser also we can see it in the heading, right?
Sorry, I could not. So I have typed learning HTML here in the body, inside the body, right?
In the head, there is a tag which says title, right?
In the head,
in the head tag, title tag is there, right?
Title tag is there, right?
Yeah. In that way, can we write a H1 tag in the head or
No,
no?
no,
Okay.
we cannot. We cannot. So we cannot write it there. You need to write it inside the body basically.
Okay.
Okay. So here, this H1 tag, if you're writing, say learning HTML, what I want to do is I want to particularly change this particular node. But if this is only a HTML page, I cannot do it, right? So what I have
Okay.
done to demonstrate you is write a JS file as well, or write a JavaScript code as well in this. So for
Okay.
that, what I have done is I have created a button, right?
Mm.
So this is a button. So now this button is basically a HTML code. This you need to understand. This is not a JavaScript code.
Yeah.
A button is a tag which is a HTML thing. So you can see this button, but this will not do anything if there's
Anything.
no JavaScript code.
Okay.
Okay, so what I have done is I have included one external JavaScript file here inside the script, and I have put a source as script.js. So it is taking this particular file, which is my JS file, and now we will go in this and then see what is happening here. So here, what I have done in this line that I will try to explain you. 1 second, I will just delete. Yeah. So in this particular line, if you will see, I have written on click equal to heading change. Have you seen something like this previously?
No.
No.
On click, I saw like
Okay.
heading
Oh,
change headings.
okay. So what it is saying is that on click, on this button click, we can actually associate a function. So whenever some user will click on this particular button, something should happen. And what
Mm.
something should happen, we can actually pass a function and we can put our logic into that particular function that, okay, on click of this button, you
Yeah.
execute this particular function, and in this function, whatever you have written will be executed basically. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.